Sometimes I meet people and when I tell them I've been in the company 30 years, they'll inwardly rolling their eyes because they were perhaps born 30 years ago.
People still end up staying because also those years they're getting promoted every 2 years, but also they hit a plateau after a point in time and you feel you're getting stuck because promotions don't come that fast. How did you navigate through a period like that?
You don't always get what you want, and it's a good thing.
Welcome to another episode of Rewrite the Rules. Today is a finale for season 3, and we are recording it with a very special guest. Her name is Supriya Rao Patwardhan. She's EVP at DHL Group. She's been with DHL for 30 years. We're going to talk a lot about what made her stay for so long and what did she do to play such a long-term game. So let's jump in straight away. Welcome, Supriya.
Thanks, Ritu. It's a privilege to be here.
Tell us a little bit more about you.
Sure. I think you said balancing many roles, and I think that's kind of best describes me. So let's talk about the roles, right? Obviously, I'm wife, mother, grandmother as well.
Wow.
To two little grandsons who are the joy of my life. A leader for many years. And when you say leader, there's different levels of leadership, right? As a peer, as a supporter, as a cheerleader, you take on many roles. And I think each of those adds to your personality. So you don't get too deeply stressed by anything.
Yeah.
You always have a different perspective to look at it from.
Right.
And this is something I think as women we are privileged to have.
Absolutely.
And play, but we don't leverage enough.
Yeah. What do you mean by that we don't leverage that enough?
I think we try, many women I know try to be perfectionists at things. So they're always dissatisfied with what they're doing and they feel they could do more. And this is because I think we play many roles and we play them well.
Yeah.
We're always seeking perfection. But perfection is not necessarily something that you should have.
Yeah.
Perfection means no further improvement, no further growth. So for me, I think women should leverage the fact that you have a friend circle, you're a mother, you may be a wife, adding meaning to somebody's life around you. And the perspectives that you get, so for example, my daughter, when I'm exasperated with her, much of the time, I still learn a lot because that helps me handle younger people at work.
Yeah.
Or their perspective at work helps me understand a little bit about what drives her or why she's different from me.
Right.
Consciously doing this is not something that I see women do. I think they deal with it all, but reflecting on, what role are you playing? What role are they playing? What can you learn from the other person? In your life, whatever role that they play for you, whether as your employee or your peer or your boss or your children, your spouse, your partner, your friend, doesn't matter, right? They all play a role. What can you learn from that you can bring into other facets of your life?
I agree. In fact, in the book, they talk about skill transfer, which is how do you bring what you learn in different aspects of your life to, let's say, your work. So if you're great at organizing events, you're a great project manager at work, right? Or if you're somebody who's really into art and, painting, you bring that kind of patience and eye for details into your works. And you take things from your work to your life too. I wanted to kind of dive a little bit into your years with your company, DHL Group, for 30 years. There has to be something special that kept you there for 30 years.
Yeah, I think for me, I'd say it's a sense of adventure. And the company allowed me to experiment, put up my hand for different things. Sometimes I took roles that didn't exist before I took them. Every individual enjoys a little space, a little, the ability to say, I think it should be done this way. And creating that type of culture that will bring people together and keep them. Sometimes I meet people and when I tell them I've been in the company 30 years, they'll inwardly rolling their eyes because they were perhaps born 30 years ago. And I think having a little space to grow, to try, to experiment, to be able to be heard,
Yeah.
These are just deep human needs.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I think if you can provide that,
Yeah.
then attracting or retaining talent for a
True.
leader is
True.
quite easy.
One of the things I find is that people, 5 years, 10 years, that's people still end up staying for those years, because also those years they're getting promoted every 2 years, they're getting new roles, but also they hit a plateau after a point in time, and we've seen that there is that middle management where you feel you're getting stuck because promotions don't come that fast, new roles don't come up that fast. How would you advise, or how did you navigate through a period like that?
This dates back to something I learned really early on. I grew up in India and I was working there, and I had my daughter too. Then we moved to Singapore and I literally had to start again. There wasn't LinkedIn. So, you had to walk in and perhaps, go in for an interview and present yourself to people who didn't know you, didn't know anything about you.
Yeah.
And you had to position yourself and reinvent yourself. And I actually ended up in DHL starting at the bottom. I started again after 8 years of working life as an analyst programmer.
Yeah.
That is at the bottom of the tech heap. That experience is something that has stayed with me, that you need to be relevant and you need to add value.
Yeah.
So it's not so much about the role. And because of that experience, I think this is something I have unconsciously almost, as I realize now, constantly ask myself, am I still relevant? Or what would make me relevant? Or what does the company need now that I can bring to the table?
Yeah.
Or what else can I do? So this constant seeking, call it curiosity, call it the quest for relevance,
Right.
is something that's fundamental, right? You want to be valuable. You want your value to be seen, perceived by others, but also inherently felt. So this is what I would say. You have to ask yourself.
Correct. I think that's a great point.
And sometimes you have to create the role.
Yeah, create the role. How does one do that? Create the role. Okay, I am a manager, and there's a role that's there in the other function. Let's say I want to apply for it. I want to talk to some people, but I also know that my manager may not release me, or my manager may not be very happy with me leaving. But I also know in order for me to grow, I want to apply. Like, how does one navigate things like that?
It's always a bit daunting, I think, when you face the prospect of you're successful in your current role.
Correct, yes.
Then you're taking a risk, but you want to take the risk.
Correct.
And you ask yourself, if I don't do this, will I regret it? And if the answer is a resounding yes, you should go after it. Sometimes it'll work out, sometimes it won't. But I think if you're in that space, what I've found helpful is you have a chat with your manager about what more could you do where you are because you want to grow and you feel you're stagnating, or the role currently gives you the opportunity to showcase a certain set of skills, but here's the area I want to learn and grow, and that's why I'm attracted to that role. I think if you have this conversation, and it's quite a mature conversation to have, because you're not now saying, I want that title, I want that grade. You're saying, this is the part that I want to explore. How could I do that? In my current role, I don't see this opportunity. Is it there? Or this is why I'm looking for it. I think when you approach it from this perspective of growth, learning, adding value, opportunities to do more, you will always meet a listening ear. I mean, organizations, frankly, are very happy if somebody says, I want to do more.
Yeah. I agree. Yes.
Of course, you may have to wait for the salary to catch up once you've shown the value. But I think coming at it, as a lot of young people do, I want to be promoted, I want this grade, I want that title, is kind of taking you perhaps at cross purposes with the organization. So if you really navigate from a place of growth and learning, I think it's a common goal for you and the company.
Yeah. No, I like the way you framed it.
And it also forces you to question your own motivation.
Absolutely.
Why are you going for that role? Is it just for that prestige of the title? You have to be honest with yourself. Sometimes it might be.
Of course.
But then know that may not be what the organization is looking for.
Right.
So there's a chance you won't get it. So look at your motivations and figure it out.
Correct. I think that makes so much sense. Do you feel again, given where you are right now, working with so many people and teams across the region, across the globe, do you find certain things that women leaders bring to the table, certain traits, certain qualities, certain challenges that they bring to the table, which are different from their male counterparts?
Till about 5 or 6 years ago, I didn't feel so comfortable bringing my entire self to work. So I work in a very male-dominated industry. For me, therefore, keeping my emotions in check is a very big part of how I became successful as a middle manager. Around 5 years ago, when I moved to this current role, a couple of things happened. So I moved to this role in the midst of pandemic, right? I took this role in July 2020, bang in the middle of the pandemic when we didn't know whether the vaccines were coming or what was going to happen. Plus, I became a grandmother. So these kind of life-changing events really forced me to think, okay, how do I want to lead now? What do I want to do? I'm also coping with this new environment of the pandemic, this new role. But I do know I want to bring everything to it. So I'm going to bring this honesty of if I'm having a bad day, I'm going to say it, right?
Yeah.
And so today isn't a particularly good day. And I think there was a lot of people at that time who told me, we've never seen this side of you.
Interesting.
And mind you, I'd been working for 25 years with that company at that time. So it's like 25 years later, we didn't know this side of you existed. So you could see how successful I was at hiding parts of myself. And then came the next comment, which is, but we really like this. This is so open. This is a real side of you, not just this leader who's in control, who's very poised, who's very polished. Okay, we like all that, but this is the real you.
Yeah.
And that gave me the flexibility to, it doesn't mean that I could, have drama at work, but I could really bring whatever I was thinking and feeling. And we could have many more open conversations in meetings, in my board meetings now. We started talking about, motivations and insecurities and how did you feel about this and that, which was not a topic that this very all-male board was used to. But we were able to open those doors and have those conversations and continue them also in private, which I think is really important because now I think there's a level of bonding, there's a level of feeling part of it, which they perhaps didn't have. Very successful team, but they didn't have belonging, didn't have a feeling of trust.
Yeah, and that's emotion, right?
That's emotion. These are all emotions. Exactly.
Yeah.
What do we as women bring? We have, because again, I come back to the point, we are always balancing different roles.
Yeah.
We can bring the emotions we have in those different roles to the table.
Correct. Right?
And
make it work and not make it a handicap.
And make it work and also switch between those roles and perspectives. And encourage others to do the same. I think this is the biggest thing. As women, we always bring people together. That's kind of our nurturing self, or bringing people together, making them feel comfortable. This is kind of very wired into us.
Correct.
And if we can bring that to work, it just makes the workplace so much better, so much fun even.
Yes. Few things stood out for me. The first one being that, yes, bringing emotions to work. And when people think of emotion, I mean, frankly saying, when they think women emotion, they associate teary-eyed or all red-faced or high-pitched voice. Like that's what they think emotion is. But what you said was so beautiful, that emotions, trust, belonging, caring, getting everybody together, all those come from emotions. And those are actually traits of a successful team or successful organization. So I think that's a really good way of framing. The other point that you made, I think, is this type, right? When we think of leaders, we think of a certain type. And that's why every young woman, emerging women leaders, they want to be that type because they only see men or women a certain type, right? We grew up in an era in the corporate world where there were fewer women leaders. And therefore, we emulated quite a bit of what we saw around, which was male leaders, till you realize, there's more to us, right? How can we try and shift that for the emerging women leaders, that they don't have to go this route and then discover, they can bring their whole self to work?
I think it's important to do that, to open up that conversation, not just with emerging women leaders, but male leaders too.
I agree.
Because they're part of the network.
Yes.
You have to create this awareness around, hey, there are different types of leaders. I mean, male or female is just one aspect of it. So I think having the conversation about different types of leadership and situational leadership where, yeah, you need to bring your caring self, but you can't be caring all the time as a trait. I think it's important to have that. I think recognizing first that people of our generation, or this generation that is now looking at the emerging leaders and saying, your world is different, we have a role to play simply by being those very visible role models. I mean, one of the reasons why I'm here to talk with you is so somebody can hear and say, well, that resonated with me.
Yes.
And we didn't have access to this when we were growing up. I agree. I learned a lot from the male leaders that I worked with, and things that I wanted to learn and do, and things that I did not want to do, having observed them do it badly. So both, So I think first is visibility, right? Second is honest conversations with them and with the male leaders. So I'll give you another example. I was with a team in Cologne. Again, a bunch of really, really bright technologists. And one of them said to me, so how did you get here? And I'm wondering, like, you're so successful. How did you get here? And then I asked him, I said, do you have sisters? Do you have a wife? He says, yeah. I says, so how can you make sure that she can get there? Start to think that way. My journey is this far because I had a lot of support, and I asked for support when I didn't get it. But if you want to see more leaders shine, then look at the leaders in your own family. So it's important to call it out. To call it out and to influence as well.
I agree. And it's really nicely said, because one of the reasons why we run this podcast is to create more relatable role models for emerging women leaders by amplifying voices of leaders like yourself. So we're trying to play a small role in that conversation. But I do agree. I think having conversations is such an important part of it. I want to come back to you, Supriya, a little bit about you. Tell me where you started, how you ended up where you are.
I'm the youngest of three girls. And I thank my stars I was born in a family where both my parents were very strong supporters of, going after whatever you wanted. I think the best gift they gave us was that. So I was a very sickly child when I was growing up. I wasn't very healthy, and I was homeschooled for a bit. And then, so for me also navigating the whole social arena when I started school and, actually went to a school in grade 5 or so, was navigating this whole school system. How was it like, having not had that before, and the competitiveness and all of it, got bullied. These experiences, they shape you. Something that I've done is reflected on everything that happened to say, okay, what could I learn? What is it bringing? Or how can I help others who are in this situation? So that's kind of been my shaping thing. I think inherently I'm a little bit of a risk taker. It sounds contradictory because I've been with the same company for 30 years. But I think within that, I've tried to do different things. Go after stuff I've liked to do or I want to explore. I've moved countries, I've moved continents, I've lived in different parts of the world. And I think every one of those experiences has shaped me. I would say, everyone has rich experiences. And some of them are things that you actively talk about. And then there are others which perhaps are setbacks, but they shape you too.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's important to think about them and think how that has made you who you are.
Yeah.
Because that arms you with a secret strength that you perhaps aren't always aware of.
Absolutely.
Resilience, for example, adapting, adjusting. So for me, these things came because of the experiences I had, where you go into an environment, you get bullied a bit, you don't fit in, then you learn to adapt.
Yeah.
Some people say be vulnerable, but it's not about the vulnerability. It's what did you learn from that moment? What's your strength? What have you brought in because of it? And this is what I would encourage everybody to do, because I feel we don't do that enough. And then we miss out on our strengths.
Yeah, right, right. And you talked about reflection a lot, reflect on things. Is there a process you follow reflection? Is it natural or?
When I was younger, I would often play out scenarios. If I did this, then what would happen? So it started there, but I think over time I've learned, and I meditate every day. So for me, I think just the sitting in the silence, thinking through, recognizing those thoughts, emotions, what's driving it, that's become a practice. Yeah. And I've been encouraging that in my unit as well. So leaders are reflective, because the fast pace of things, the many, many meetings you go to, they can all be just transactions.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the day, all you have is you're exhausted because you've had all these transactions. The reflection gives you the space to really think which of those made sense. What did you take away from it? What could you do differently? Or what do you want to go back to? As leaders, it's really critical we reflect.
Yeah.
Because of the impact we have, not just on ourselves, but I would say on others. So my favorite leadership quote is, "You're the weather for your people."
Yeah, I love that.
And for me, it's really true that if I have a stormy day, I'm pretty certain it's going to manifest in some way to those around me. So hence, it's important to tell people. They know where you're coming from on that particular day.
Yeah, yeah. Has there been, as you look back in your life career, has there been a moment which was very pivotal for you, which made you shift few things?
It's the lesson of you don't always get what you want, and it's a good thing. Many years ago, I wanted a certain role.
Yeah.
Again, I thought that was tailor-made for me. For me, that was the role to be successful at, the role where the company would benefit.
Right.
And I went all out for it in a very open way, right? Or in a very openly ambitious way, which I think was a bit of a shock for the environment I was in, because as a woman, I was saying, well, I want that. That's what I would like to do, and telling people about it. When I did that, I had somebody saying to me, well, that's really like going out there and saying it. I said, yeah, I want to.
Yeah.
Then as things happened, I didn't get that. I got another role, which was initially, I felt all of it. Okay, I didn't get that one. I played it in my head.
Right.
Was I rejected? Was I even considered? No, I wasn't considered. Was I even rejected? What was happening there? Why wasn't it seen? Is this a second best thing, or is it the good thing? Hindsight, right, always plays in, and you think that the roles you didn't get, thank God you didn't get them. And thank God for whoever had the foresight in the organization not to put me in that role, because that would have been me being very unidimensional, working on the strengths that I know I had for the role, but likely not developing any other facets. So sometimes I think this is very pivotal in a career, and you talk about longevity and retaining it. It is having a trust that somebody else will see things in you that you don't see yourself.
Right.
And therefore puts you in a position where you can actually shine more and grow in different ways.
Yeah.
At the time, it doesn't feel like that, but trust me.
Correct.
It will happen.
I'm going to ask you this question because we are all about to rewrite the rules. What is one rule that you think you have rewritten in your life?
I think it's ask for what you want openly. And there's a whole school of thought around manifesting.
Yeah.
But manifesting is too subtle sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to say it. Sometimes you have to ask for it. And I'll say this specifically for women, that you have to also ask for support.
Yeah.
Ask for what you need to be successful, because, this is this proven thing that as women, we always think we don't really qualify. But I think we also know what we need to be successful.
Yeah.
Do we ask for that? And this is what I would say as, go bold. I always say this, go boldly where no man or woman has gone before. Yeah. Ask for the help that you need, because you can't expect everyone to read your mind.
Correct.
And what's the worst that can happen? Somebody will say no. But at least you know where you stand.
That's right.
So, it is it is a little bold, but I think it's about time.
I agree. I totally agree with you that it is time. As we wrap up, if there was one thing you would want to say to your younger self, or one advice you would have for your younger self, what would that be?
Trust that good things will happen. Be optimistic.
Great. Good. So on that note, Supriya, thank you once again for having this conversation. We really enjoyed it, and I'm sure our listeners are going to get a lot of good nuggets from here.
Thank you so
much.
Me. I love talking to you as well.
Perfect. Thank you.